Tonight on Currents News, the mystery that's frightening so many parents, a deadly illness that's probably linked to coronavirus striking kids. The story of one family that can now say they lived through it. Plus this.
The city's subways have been closed overnight for a week. I'm Jessica Easthope, and coming up, we'll hear from passengers and a train operator on what's changed.
And the emergency program that's supposed to help small business is plagued with its own problems, putting owners in a bind. Plus, pregnant during a pandemic, how one Catholic editor is handling the stress.
I know that whatever happens, God will be with us.
A big welcome home for a little boy, Jayden Hardowar, beating the odds of a mysterious illness, shocked back to life and hospitalized for days.
Everything worked out for him. We were there, right time, right place, doing the right thing.
Now his family and those who saved him are celebrating life. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. Tonight begins Jayden's long road to recovery. The boy is still weak and didn't say a word as he was welcomed home. Doctors don't know much about the pediatric disease except that they believe it is related to COVID-19. But as Currents News' Emily Drewby reports, his parents consider it a win just to have their fighter home.
Cheers of joy for Jayden Hardowar as he left the hospital on Tuesday. A miracle. Because this was him just a week before. In an instant, the 8-year-old boy went from healthy and vibrant to this.
He wasn't breathing anymore.
Jayden was sick, suffering from a mysterious illness that targets kids. No one knows for sure, but it's probably linked to COVID-19. In Jayden's case, his life was on the line.
Me and my older son rushed into the room and checked for a pulse. There was no pulse.
In that moment, the boy's father, ROUP, and brother TYRON were terrified, but TYRON knew what to do.
I thought he was dead, to be honest, and I don't want him to die, so I had to save him.
A Boy Scout with Troop 177 out of Holy Child Jesus Church in Richmond Hill, he sprung into action, performing CPR on his brother, something he learned while earning a first aid merit badge.
Scout motto is to be prepared, and I was prepared for life.
Knowledge that likely saved Jayden's life.
Without the CPR, he would have had some sort of brain damage, which the doctors found out there was none of that right now.
Help arrived quickly. Firefighter Tom Gonzalez shocked Jayden's heart back into rhythm.
After all the cardiac arrests we've been to over the past few months, it's a great thing to see, to be able to help this kid out.
And he was rushed to the hospital, where Jayden spent 2 weeks fighting for his life. New York is investigating 102 cases of this dangerous pediatric disease, which causes extreme inflammation in important organs. So far, 3 deaths in the state have been linked to it. Almost 50% of the kids hospitalized from it are still there. But on Tuesday, Jayden was released and brought home.
Long way to go till he's feeling like himself again. The disease affected both his motor and speech skills, but his family says he's a really strong kid and they know he's going to be okay. In Manhattan, Emily Drewby, Currents News. Christine?
Wow, what an incredible story, Emily. Is Jayden involved in Boy Scouts like his brother?
Yes, he's actually part of Cub Scout Pack 177, which is also out of Holy Child Jesus Church. When they heard he was in the hospital, they made this really adorable get well video.
Well, we have that video. Let's listen in a little bit.
Hope you feel better soon, Jayden.
We miss you.
Here's a joke to make you laugh.
We're praying for you and we hope to see you soon.
Oh, it's so inspiring to see those kids.
It really is so nice, and we're glad he's on the mend. Thank you, Emily. And be on the lookout for the mystery illness. That's what doctors across the country are being told by the CDC. The outbreak was first reported in New York, but new cases are cropping up in more states nationwide. The warning is going out to thousands of physicians and healthcare professionals. And stay with us. Being pregnant in the pandemic, Kerry Weber, an executive editor at the Jesuit magazine America, is a mother-to-be. Still ahead in this newscast, she'll describe what challenges she's facing. Now an update on what's happening underground. A week ago, the subway shut down overnight to clean the system and move out the homeless amid the pandemic. Tonight, Currents News' Jessica Easthope has an exclusive interview with a train operator telling us what's been accomplished and what hasn't.
Jennifer Montano rides the subway every week since the pandemic began. She needs to get to her prenatal appointments.
Today on the Q train, as soon as I walked on, there were literally 4 people laying down sleeping.
Jennifer only has to see this once a week. MTA train operator YANN HICKS sees it every day.
Now it's like every train, every trip, every day.
Last week, city and state leaders made the historic decision to close the subways overnight. The MTA has been disinfecting all trains. YANN, who's been with the MTA for 14 years and operates N and J trains, says he's seen a big improvement in this area.
I'm very proud of the MTA and the management for starting to clean up the trains.
And so have riders.
On the Q today and the R have looked a little bit cleaner.
Subway ride was nice. It was clean.
But YANN says the homeless who have been forced off the trains during the nightly cleanings come back.
Around 5 a.m. that people are all lined up to get back on the train that were kicked off at 1 a.m.
Then he says the conditions within the subway return to unacceptable and unsanitary.
It's disgusting when you're a train operator and you're pulling into a station, you see a pile of defecation here and a pile of defecation there.
YANN says forcing people off is a small fix to a much deeper problem that's plagued New York City for decades.
The city really has to step in and help the people out. People should be living on the trains.
Mayor Bill de Blasio's Thrive NYC has an immense budget to address mental illness in New York City. Critics say the initiative has failed.
We now have found new ways to get street homeless people off the street.
YANN says the people who call the subway home are lacking resources and options and are not getting the help they desperately need.
Right now, it's still a lot of homeless people, people that are mentally ill, people who think they live on the trains. It's very difficult to see this.
The subway will be closed overnight for the foreseeable future. YANN says he's hoping he and his fellow train operators are approached by city and state leaders to help come up with a more permanent solution to homelessness on the subways. In Prospect Heights, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
House Democrats are pushing their next coronavirus stimulus aid plan. The price tag tops $3 trillion, making it the largest relief package in U.S. history. It's facing a rocky road in the Republican-controlled Senate.
It's got so much unrelated to coronavirus, it is dead on arrival here.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is saying there will be a second round of stimulus checks up to $6,000 for families with children. Meanwhile, the federal money to help small businesses may not be helping them at all. Some lawmakers are looking to make changes to the small business loan program after some business owners complained that the loans could stick them with even more debt. Phil Mattingly reports.
The government's Small Business Rescue Program was designed as a dream lifeline for business owners.
I actually think they did the right thing.
But for some ravaged by the pandemic, like LAURY HAMMEL, who owns a series of health clubs in Massachusetts and Utah, it has become a nightmare.
We're in a situation where all of a sudden we find out that we don't have the ability to spend 75% of what we got from the PPP.
After a rocky rollout, the program has kicked into gear. More than 4.2 million loans, more than $500 billion to save small businesses, all of which can be forgiven if certain rules are followed. But those rules, that 75% of the funds must be used on payroll, 25% for things like rent and utilities, and all within 8 weeks, have become a dramatic problem, with businesses like HAMMEL still unable to open on states' orders, and many of their furloughed workers making more money from enhanced unemployment insurance.
I'm not going to be paying all these people money for not coming to work, and not only because it doesn't help them out, because if the business isn't around, they're not helped.
And the business saving program has created yet another desperate moment. The SBA's own Inspector General said, quote, tens of thousands of borrowers won't be able to have their loans forgiven due to the rules.
Basically, how I describe it to people is it's this gigantic pothole, and it's dark, and so you have no idea how deep it or how long it is. And you need to have something to fill that pothole.
Mark Harmon, the president of Stan's Food Service, a distributor based in South Bend, Indiana, has watched not just his business, but the restaurants it serves struggle with the program's rules.
They're all decimated. They seriously are decimated. And the PPP loan, while its intent was, I think, good, it's not practical for what they do.
Harmon contacted Indiana Senator Todd Young with his concerns, and Young, a Republican, along with Democratic Senator Michael Bennet, have drafted proposals to try and address the issues. The question now, is it too late?
What has happened with this kind of the pandemic, essentially, it's catastrophic what it's doing to our industry. And it's going to be really, really hard to come back from if we're not saved.
Again, that was Phil Mattingly reporting thousands of applications were still waiting to be reviewed when Congress approved a second round of funding for the program. But the volume of loan approvals has since dropped, in part because of concerns about the rules and a lack of clarity on forgiveness. Grocery prices are soaring nationwide, with staples like eggs, meat, and cereals recording their highest spikes in 46 years. Eggs saw the biggest jump last month, up 16%. Grocery stores seem to be alone in price increases. Most other industries saw declines in April. And here are some more headlines. Fall semester classes are canceled at California's public university system, the largest in the country. Online instruction will be provided. Wuhan, China, where the virus started, is going to test all 11 million residents after a new cluster of infections emerged. And New York hospitals are resuming urgent medical procedures that were put on hold by the pandemic. The highly popular daily masses celebrated by Pope Francis won't be shown live anymore after Monday. The move is linked to the resumption of public masses in Italian churches 5 days from now. The Vatican is saying the Holy Father wants the people of God to be together for the liturgy. The Pope attracted a record number of people while live streaming during Holy Week and Easter, where there were more than 14 million page views, compared with about 3.5 million the previous year. The Vatican live streamed all major events in 6 languages on its YouTube channels. There's a lot more news headed your way. Why one family is grateful to be alive. They're touting the power of prayer. Plus, pregnant in a pandemic, a mom-to-be tells us how she's relying on her faith to deal with the fear and uncertainty. And special election, one that might end up with some surprising results. Stick around to find out why.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
Thankful to God for all the prayers, and I know that's what got us through it.
Lorraine Pierce on her way home from the hospital after beating COVID-19. Lorraine is one of 5 members of the same family near Buffalo, New York, to contract coronavirus. They say their faith helped them pull through. The last few months have been rough on the Pierce household.
5 members of my family had COVID. 3 were hospitalized.
Those 3 were Jackie's mother, father, and brother.
Dad had a fever. He had a cough. Mom had pneumonia.
And Jackie's brother, Robert, was on a ventilator for 16 days.
His journey was pretty perilous, and a few times the doctors kind of got us ready for the worst.
But as of Tuesday, each of Jackie's family members can say they beat COVID-19.
Well, I'll tell you, it's only by the grace of God that we have been able to be survivors.
We're very thankful for everything. Very thankful, very happy to be on our way home.
And after 8 weeks together at the Garden Gate Healthcare Facility, Lorraine and Robert are headed home. Chauffeured by their survivor's son.
And it's through faith and through family that we got through this.
I'm just so thankful to God for all the prayers, and I know that's what got us through it.
Certainly it feels absolutely wonderful to be walking and talking and having our being and being able to breathe, and it's really a blessing.
The region where the family lives, Western New York, still has requirements to meet before it can start reopening again. Bringing a baby into the world can be stressful for any parent at any time, let alone in the middle of a pandemic. Besides the obvious health concerns, moms-to-be can be left wondering, what world am I bringing my baby into? Here to talk about her experience is Kerry Weber. She's an executive editor at the Jesuit America magazine and expecting a baby girl in July. Welcome. First of all, Kerry, congratulations, and how are you feeling?
Thank you very much. I'm feeling all right, all things considered.
Almost there, right?
Yes, yeah.
So you wrote an article for America magazine titled "The Hope and Uncertainty of Being Pregnant During the Coronavirus Pandemic." Now, I've been pregnant twice, and there are already so many fears worrying, will your baby be healthy? Will the delivery be uneventful? What's it like to be pregnant during a pandemic?
Yeah, well, it certainly adds to that feeling of uncertainty, right? And there's uncertainty sort of around your own health, around the health of the baby, around what the hospital conditions will be, around things that we thought were sort of certain, like my mom would come down and watch my other two kids while we went to the hospital. But if she's not well, or if that's a danger for her, we don't know what that will look like. So we've had to come up with sort of a number of different alternative plans, and then just kind of wait and see what looks like the most viable option for, what the labor and delivery will look like as it gets a little bit closer.
Right. I mean, are you fearful about that, about being in a hospital during the crisis? Are you worried that you or maybe your baby can catch this virus?
Yeah, I'm absolutely worried about that option. And I've certainly read probably more than is useful on this topic in the last few weeks. So I've kind of tried to familiarize myself with what the options are, and I know that all we can try to do is be as careful as possible with all of the usual precautions. I do fear that I would be separated from my child for a period of time if I had the virus or she had the virus. That's one of the things that happens, and that's probably. But if it's a small price to pay if both of us, come out of this okay. So I'm just trying to turn things over to God.
Yeah, and Pope Francis recently prayed for pregnant women who may question, what kind of world will my child live in, he said. Are you concerned about that? And what will you tell your child about this whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because everything is changing, right? It's changing in ways that we don't fully understand yet. And that's one of the scariest things. It's like, if I knew things were going to change and this was going to be the end result or that was going to be the end result, then I think I could feel like I could prepare for that, but I don't know what the world will look like. But I'm comforted in the fact that in some ways it's similar to the apostles feeling after Christ was crucified, right? The world has completely changed utterly and forever, and they have no idea what that means yet. And so this is, there's a similar uncertainty, and in some ways, smaller stakes, I guess. So I'm just trying to look to the inspiration of the apostles and turn to Jesus and Mary, help me get through this.
Yeah, tell me about that. I was just going to ask, it seems like you're relying on your Catholic faith throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, I think so, because I think in times of uncertainty, I try to find, what can I be most certain about? And I know that whatever happens, God will be with us, whether that's, good or bad, whether it's the outcome I hope for or not. And I try to kind of just move through this time of uncertainty and darkness toward hopefully what light there is to come in the future. There's a saying by Flannery O'Connor, the author, that faith, don't expect faith to clear things up for you. It's trust, not certainty. So I'm just trying to trust, even though I remain uncertain about a lot of things.
Absolutely, and I loved your article. If anyone wants to check it out, go to americamagazine.org. And Kerry, thanks for being here today, and good luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
President Trump is tonight applauding the results of a special congressional election in the suburbs of Los Angeles. Republican Mike Garcia is leading by double digits, and his Democratic opponent conceded the race late today. Garcia is taking over a seat held by a Democrat who resigned. Trump is calling it a big win. The president's likely opponent for president, Joe Biden, is planning a virtual run for the White House. The former vice president has no foreseeable plans to resume in-person campaigning during the pandemic. He says he will follow social distancing rules and stay at his Delaware home. Still to come on Currents News, there won't be any typical graduation ceremonies this year, but the graduates are still being recognized. And just ahead, a famous doctor addresses Regis High School grads. Also ahead, how a factory in Georgia is helping Americans stay in shape during the pandemic. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. America's top pandemic doctor, Anthony Fauci, is sending a graduation salute to the students at his alma mater, Jesuit-run Regis High School in Manhattan. He's telling them how important his Catholic education has been to him then and now.
I often say it was the best educational experience I could have imagined. I became immersed in the intellectual rigor of a Jesuit education.
Dr. Fauci also graduated from a Jesuit college, the College of the Holy Cross in Massachusetts. His message is going out to all Jesuit graduates around the country. And finally tonight, scared of gaining some quarantine weight? Want to try working out from home? Well, you might have some problems getting dumbbells and kettlebells online thanks to a nationwide shortage. But for one Georgia manufacturer, it's boom times. Larissa Liska reports from Columbus.
Americans have been forced to exercise some patience during what some have called the dumbbell and kettlebell shortage.
There's no dumbbells, like weights are kind of hard to come by right now because when all the gyms shut down, everyone kind of made a rush to the stores and I was a little late on that one.
65% of exercise equipment in the United States ships from foundries in China, which has encouraged American companies like Golden's Foundry and Machine Company in Columbus to get creative.
We were seeing a similar thing with our cast iron barbecues, that a lot of our competitors bring their things in from China, and so they were similarly affected, but that we currently weren't making kettlebells or dumbbells.
Golden's Foundry, which began in 1882, had made kettlebells in the past, but could not compete with the big companies. Now during COVID-19, local foundries were needed to share the weight.
These things come in as steel scrap, and we take that scrap and we melt it in our induction furnaces at very high temperatures. We pour that iron in, it fills up that space to make that casting. So every kettlebell, it really is going to be unique.
Once the kettlebells are cast and painted, they're ready to be lifted up and swung into your home gym.
Oh man, I get my workout here swinging kettlebells left and right all day.
It's amazing how much moving that weight around gives you kind of an all-body workout.
George Boyd Jr. hopes the kettlebell shortage encourages consumers in the future to choose American-made products.
It kind of shows the importance of American manufacturing and our ability to make things here.
Again, that was Larissa Liska reporting. Golden's Foundry is producing around 100 weights a day. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.